first thing, um, this video is going to be me talking about all the minis I've painted and assembled. Mostly all the ones that have been painted and assembled. Um, First, I want to start off by saying I've been doing this hobby officially for 6 months now, and I can see why people call it plastic crack. And it's been super enjoyable. I've started to listen to some of the books. I plan on listening to more. I plan on getting more Space Marines, more Tyranids, more Tau, even though some people don't like them, and I don't understand why. And I don't know if I'll get more Necron. We'll have to see. But it all goes back to this mini right here. This is the very first mini I ever painted. And I really didn't look up any videos or anything like that. I was kind of just like winging it. I was winging it so much that I had a 3D printer. And this shoulder is not original. And that isn't a transfer sheet. That's a painted... Whoop, let me get it in good screen here. That's a painted 3D printed Ultramarine logo that has a transfer sheet of a skull inside of it, because I didn't know usually a lot of times when they have those skulls it indicates a sergeant. So I mean, I don't know how long it took me to paint this. It's very, very crude, not a whole lot of extra detail into it. Again, I didn't really know what I was doing. Obviously it needed another layer of gold on its armor, or on its gold bits, but I'll never repaint this mini. I always want to show people where I started from and where I've gotten to today. So we'll go to the next one. What will we do for the next one? We'll go on to the Pyroblasters. Now, again, this was still pretty early on. I figured out transfer sheets. I started doing a lot more detailing work into like the coloring and the prayers and stuff. I had gotten a transfer sheet that just has a bunch of prayers on it. And I mean, I did a lot of color coding, and I believe this mini itself is the first one I did a 3D printed effect for. So obviously this one's spewing fire, and I didn't quite know how to paint it super great. If I remember right, these are push fit models, and that first one was not. Little story about that first mini that I didn't talk about was when I put this together, I did not go by the rules, and I kind of just cut it out and thought I was going to wing it, and it took me 4 hours to put the box of tin together because I didn't know what went where, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured it out. Anyways, back to this mini. Like I said, this was the first one I did 3D effect for. I started using more of base things to make it look better. I actually knew how to use transfer sheets at the time, and I still wasn't quite super great at painting. I mean, that was probably still within the first month here. Let's see, what's next? I am sure that it is this. Now, this is the Winged Tyranid Prime. I always call it a Winged Hive Tyrant for some reason. I don't understand why. This was kind of my first foray into kind of not knowing what I was doing. I mixed a lot of, like, I had certain coloring, and it wasn't like light enough, so I would mix whites and the purple. I would mix black and whatever color I was using at the time. I'm not quite sure. And this mini's pretty messy, and I'll agree to that. But I mean, it turned out great. This originally didn't have any of this not Knoll oil, because the local shop that I went to didn't have any. It had Dark Tone, which was Army Painter stuff, and I put it on. It's all right. It just like globbed on in some places, but you know what? The mini's done. I'm not complaining. It still looks good to me. So I know for a fact the next one after that, this is with all still within the first month, is this big boy. Again, same thing. I first used that dark tone on this. That's why you can see like dark spots here that aren't like equal, because I didn't know what I was doing. I really liked how this green turned out because it looks liquidy, and I don't know how. I don't know how I did that. To this day, I still don't know how I did that. I did these little tentacle bits and everything like that. Anything else? Putting this mini together was kind of a pain because basing it after I got all this painted. Again, this is a push to fit mini. Like these things are loose. Like I can wiggle these, and I can wiggle the feet and everything that's supposed to be glued down. So I don't know why it didn't base very well, but that mini got finished afterwards. Okay, what is the next mini after that? I suppose it would be this guy. Now, this is a Terminator captain that I broke his halo. I think that's what they're called. They're called halos or something like that off. And I was really mad, so I 3D printed what he has right now. It turned out pretty good. The sword I was super proud with, being able to keep the lettering. Again, these are just all transfer sheet stuff. That's a transfer sheet for wording that I can't remember what I put on there. It says something Terra. I can't really read it too well. I do know this was for the first time, for a fact, the first time I had ever painted a sword at all. And this one turned out pretty well. I was really happy with it. It also has one of my custom, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not, one of my homemade Ultra transfer sheets that I put on there. And I also did his cape a little bit different. Now, all that gold and that was entirely free-handed on. That was my first foray into freehanding, just for detail and such. But I liked it. It turned out great. This was also the very first base that was pretty much all modeled for me. All I had to do was paint it. I painted some bullet casings and stuff. He turned out really good. I was really happy. I do have a second one of those, but that went to a buddy of mine. I'll try to keep him on camera here as we go. And I can't wait to see how he does on painting that. Now, after that, it would be kind of hard to tell. I'm pretty sure if that wasn't the next thing I painted after those two Tyranids, it was this for sure. Now, this took me 12 hours to paint at least. There we go. And I mean, I went full in. I wanted this model to look great because I thought, this is a centerpiece model. It's a big model. I'm wrong in that sense because I've now come to find out centerpiece models are more like Engron or my buddy's Stormhawk gunship, really big minis. But I still liked how well this guy turned out. I mean, he turned out great. I do know. Yeah, no, that's right. I do know for a fact that I broke this shoulder off and such. But this is back when we were still using this grass. I did find out that putting super glue in this grass will start smoking. And me and my buddy figured that out at the same time when all of a sudden he put the grass on his Stormhawk Raven gunship that we'll talk about later, and it started smoking. And I'm all like, "What are you talking about? You're crazy, dude!" And nope, it was starting a fire. I touched it, and it was really hot, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" So again, this took 12 hours to do. I put so much work into this. I really did. I'm super happy with the way it turned out. To immediately get bodied in 2 turns on the first game of tabletop that him and I played. I do like the what I call the calf tattoos. He's got like each part of the eagle on his calves. I really love the way it turned out. So he will go. Let me see if I can keep him on camera somewhat. I want to keep some of these on camera here. Let me get that out of the way. Should have noticed that earlier. Okay. Next one. Oh, what would have been the next one? It's a real... Oh, I know what the next one was. Because he's still not painted super great. It's Lieutenant Titus. I'm still using this patchy grass, which allows me to know exactly what minis are like. We're part of the very first group of minis to paint. So, Lieutenant Titus was closer to one of the very first minis. He came out of the Space Marine 2 board game box. This is not like the Lieutenant Titus you can get from Games Workshop. I really didn't know what I was doing again with the chainsword. It was the first chainsword. I have ultra. Oh, you can't see it too well because the camera doesn't want to focus. Focus. Come on. Okay, well, it has the UL and the RA for ultra right there on his shoulder. This was the very first face I ever painted. I thought he turned out really great. I tried to do his eyes 3 different times, and he looked like a giant goofball. So I just said, I'm not going to paint eyes, and I've pretty much stuck to that since. The only time I paint eyes are on, like, Necrons or helmets. Obviously, I paint the eyes on helmets, but I do not paint eyeballs. And if I do any guard other than Death Corps of Krieg, I know that I'm probably going to have to figure it out. But he turned out super great. I was still pretty happy with him. He might have been painted before the Dreadnought. So it might go... I'm pretty sure it actually goes these two, this one, then Titus, then the Dreadnought, and then the Captain. But I'm not 100% sure. It's also been 6 months in total. So I am kind of celebrating that too. I've been doing this for 6 months, so you can kind of see the progression I've made in my painting skills. So, the next one is a kit-bashed lieutenant. If I remember right, this piece is glued on. Obviously, he's got the Hogman mask, and this arm and gun and sword are all from... the arm and gun is not. The sword is, the helmet is, and this piece for sure is. It's from a upgrade sprue that I have 2 of now because my Blade Guard veterans, I like the sergeant to have a proper helmet with a plume. So, sorry, my phone went off. So, again, I made sure he had a lieutenant transfer sheet. That's the first time I ever did one of those little dots on the back. Did I do it on both sides? Yep. His shoulder pads entirely. I forgot to do an ultra on his shoulder pad. I'll have to take care of that at some point. I gotta remember that. His shoulder, like his pauldron, that's what they're called, has a little lettering on it that I'm not quite sure. I can't make it out necessarily, but I tried to keep it like black underneath. It didn't work out very well initially, but you know what? I'm super happy with the way it turned out. Those lines didn't work super great. If I remember, I tried to tape them to start, but it just didn't work. But I'm happy with the way he turned out. He's one of a kind. So the next one, I am sure, is... Yeah, it's the Terminator Sergeant. Now, I still have to do prayer transfer sheets on this. I thought I got him done. Okay, so first thing, doing these little lines is not fun. But don't sit there and do them to like the 9th degree and have 8 layers. So if you got one that looks halfway decent, it's fine. At a distance, it's going to look fine. You can see from your view right now, it's not square and it's not perfect. But you know what? That's all right. Because when you're looking at it like this, you really can't tell a whole lot. So his eyes are painted green. Again, I think he was one of the first few Terminators I actually started putting together. I did like all the joints and stuff silver because I did not have lead belcher to do the joints like I do now. And I I tried to do the venting properly, but it didn't turn out great. But overall, the whole mini did turn out pretty good. I always give sergeants the red guns. Um, Now, there is a little bit of a story behind the paint scheme of this. It is entirely by accident. So, if I remember right, I grabbed my brush right after I had cleaned it and I thought I dried it. Apparently, I did not. So, the paint that I grabbed was super liquidy after that, and it's the same color that's on his chest. It's like it's Monument Hobbies Sky Blue. It really is a very nice paint. I've used it for multiple things, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later. But so I painted this really wet, and it was just like a big glob of just wet paint. So I like brought the sword up to my face, and I went to blow on it, and it flipped it around and kind of, I did it several times back and forth, and it kind of made this whole effect to it. And I thought, you know what, that looks pretty sick. So I'm gonna keep trying to do it. I've tried to recreate it with a couple power swords later on, but I mean, this one takes the cake. I don't think I'll ever be able to replicate it as good as that. That just looks like energy's flowing through it. It looks so good. I was even able to get like the water to go into that cross right there and have no problems. So we'll go ahead. Oh wait, I do want to say these little things. It's just one on him. The captain has two. These little things are pain to paint, but if you have what I ordered last week, it should probably be a lot easier. It's like this little, it's like this really, it comes in a container like, okay, that lid's not on all the way. It comes in a container like this, and it's like black paint liner or something like that. It's supposed to fill like any of the lines, like any recesses. If you were to put paint in it, it would make a black line. So that would be very helpful for me because I'm not a very patient man on doing detail work. So we continue to the next mini, and it is another lieutenant. I have a total, if I remember right, I have a total of 4 lieutenants that I've painted. I don't think I did anything super special with him, because he still has the little fuzzy grass instead of the what is it? Army painter grass patches. This is a upgrade sprue. He does have a upgrade sprue shoulder, and it did the exact same thing. I tried to just outline the piece with gold, but obviously that didn't work. But I did do the exact same amount of effort, try to get stuff looking nice for him. I don't remember painting that many that much, so I don't have much to talk about on it. Now, these next ones, I do remember painting a lot of. So, let's see. It would be these guys are next. These are assault intercessors. Damn ladybug. I thought I got rid of all these things. Anyways, I know for a fact each assault intercessor I painted took an hour, and that does include the face. So, I mean, I didn't rush them necessarily, but you can see I started to get into a lot better detail work and a lot better transfer sheet work too, because I was super proud of doing it at that time. I also did the teeth on the chain sword, made them silver, made little silver dots here and there, and I just kind of, and generally tried to do more detail work, like I think that's supposed to be copper look to it and everything like that, and the Ultramarine logo on the back and all that stuff. So we get to better parts of it. Now, I'm pretty sure everything that is left has been painted in the year of 2025. So, first off, my favorite units, Blade Guard Veterans. These were kind of a pain to paint initially, just because it has so many details on it. I mean, look at all those skulls in there. Do you know how hard it is to accidentally brush wrong, get black or get white where the black is, and have to go back and redo it? And you can see that center skull isn't perfect either. I'm hoping with that recess paint that I talked about that goes into like divots and stuff, hopefully I can get that done so it fixes up some of the line work in this shield. But I mean, I remember alone sinking an hour into the shields alone. So, this was really my first foray into using a mixture of snakebite leather and Vallejo leather. I tried to use more metallic paints for some stuff. I tried to give different colors of metallic paints, like that's the gold and that's the copper. I still was kind of putting metallic paints on a little thin, but you know, it turned out pretty good. This was the upgraded helmet, or the Kit Bash upgrade helmet, whatever it is. It's from the Ultramarine upgrade sprue for helmets, and I was pretty happy with it, obviously, because I got another one for the next set of Blade Guard vets that I have to paint still. I have them primed. They are not put together. I am trying a new method on priming before painting, but that'll be for another video. That little knee skull was kind of a pain because I was trying to figure out how to do the blue in between, and I eventually figured it out. Like I said, this was the first mini in 2025, and I was super happy with the way he turned out. I'm still super happy with the way they turned out. I would probably not go back and repaint any of these minis. So, after painting the third Blade Guard veteran, I got really burnt out on painting Space Marines, especially because the third Blade Guard veteran that came was messed up. So, after all that, if I remember right, which is, I think I should, yeah, because I painted that before I painted the captain. So this would have been the next thing I painted. It is a, oh my goodness, I forgot. It's an Overlord, if I remember right. I used the same sky blue, and I tried to do line work a little bit, and it didn't turn out super great. So I was kind of just like, I guess I'll just hold off on that until I get a steadier hand. As you can see, this blue sticks out so well. I mean, even his eyes are supposed to have that bluish glow to them. All these little things were a pain to do, but, you know, I got it done, and this mini looks great. Now, I do want to do a different color base than the rest of the minis for the Necrons, so that's why their base is not finished yet. These are all push-fit minis. These Necrons, oh my goodness, they're so flimsy. I thought I was going to break this one. Now, speaking to one I actually thought I did break, is this little Plasmancer dude. Now, I don't know much about the lore, and I did do a two-tone color scheme, silver, darkish silver, and if I remember right, that's supposed to be bronze, and I really busted my butt on this guy to make him look great. Even that little insignia thing was a pain, but I was super happy with the way he turned out, just like the other one. Little scarab dude. I painted him gray initially and realized it after I put up the short on this character. And so somebody asked me what lore he's from, and I really have no idea. So if you could answer that in the comments below, I'd appreciate that a lot. And these little things are such a pain. And that paint that I talked about that goes into line work will hopefully make that a lot easier. Now, if I remember right, the next one are the little crypt ghouls things. These were super simple to paint. If I remember right, it only took like an hour and a half to paint two of them. And I'm using nothing but metallic paints for these other than the primer, which starts with... That's all the black is the primer. The blue is, like I said, it's that pro acrylic. So it looks super good. Now, if I remember correctly, yes. So my next mini I painted was this dude. This is a captain with relic shield. And man, it's my favorite captain. I would use him all the time, and I still use him all the time. He has pulled one victory out of nowhere when he was the last man standing on the middle of objective for the ChatGPT game. All of his little prayers have wording on them and everything. There's even a little Ultramarine logo right there. I was super happy with all this detail work turned out. He's even got a little dead Necron dude. All the transfer sheets turned out great. And this is kind of my second attempt at what I did with this sword. And as you can see, it is not as good. I don't know why it didn't turn out as great. I tried the exact same thing, but it just didn't turn out so great. Another thing is this little doodad here, his little special shoulder thing, giant pain to paint. I don't know why it was so painful and such a pain, but his shield also, I thought it was going to be very hard to paint also. Super easy. It really was not that bad. I painted 3 Blade Guard shields, or did I paint 3 Blade Guard veteran shields before this? I might have. But I was able to whip this out pretty quick because this whole skeleton comes off, so you just got all the underneath you can quickly paint. And then, did I base this white? I might have based this shield white. So the white might be the base paint. I don't remember necessarily, but it turned out really well. I was super happy with it. And the little 3 corners for, the sword's blocking it. The little 3 corners for the 3 transfer sheets turned out great. So after the captain shall come the lieutenant, and this is the last lieutenant I have painted. He has some wording here. Again, I've gotten, as you can see, just from the difference between this shield and the last one, I've gotten better. These eye holes are still a giant pain, and I still have 3 more Blade Guard veterans to paint. Out of, if I remember my list correctly, I have 3 more to paint out of 12, because I have 3 full squads of 6. So I'm going to get better at painting shields, that's for sure. Again, his stuff turned out great. His little knee thing, I was actually able to keep some blue in between that so it doesn't look like it's all one piece. His, if I remember right, his sword was kind of a real pain because I didn't line it up correctly, and so it looked like the sword was bent downwards and stuff. So other than that, though, that's the first time I've painted a Neovolkite pistol. That's why his pistol is white, because it's supposed to be a specialty weapon. And if I remember right, that is also bronze. And that, in the helmet lining, his little, yeah, you can see it right there, yeah. You can see how not great that is. That's perfectly fine for me, because at a distance on a tabletop, you're not going to notice it. And I am not that much of a perfectionist. So, I believe the next one is the Blade Guard Ancient. So, I did a lot of this sub-assembly. Again, I did some extra work on transfer sheets to do that little thing right there. He's got an Ancient. He doesn't have anything over here. Okay, I really didn't do that much for transfer sheets other than all the prayers and stuff. This little skelly dude, that was kind of my first foray into dry brushing, because I dry brushed all the metallic paint onto him before doing all this gold and everything, and he turned out great. He's got that real dark metallic color to him that just turned out excellent. And if I remember right, that's Lead Belcher. He's even got his 2 little gold studs up here and his Robo red eye. If you can see it from the camera, I don't think it's going to be able to pick it up too well. But I was super happy to finally have him done. It took me, I think, like 3 hours to paint him. The next one is one of my favorite character models, and it is the Judiciary, or Judiciary. I don't know what it's called necessarily. I know dude rocks in melee. So I did mess up his sword a little bit, which is fine. I really don't let it bother to me. It looks good no matter what. He's got his. Did I do that wrong? No. I did not do that wrong, because he does not have a shoulder pauldron on the other side. I do not know why, but he does not have it. The mini did not come with one. I promise you. I did not mess it up. I do like his little like skull mask kind of deal, and then he's got like the cowboy neckerchief covering his face right there. That was supposed to be like a brownish leather, like his gloves, and the interior right in there and such. So I was very nervous on doing a lot of leather work like this, but he turned out super great leather wise, and a lot of his stuff is mostly black. And then if I remember right, this is where I went back and did a whole bunch of stud work, where I really tried to do a bunch of like dashes in here for leather and I do know for a fact, like all these little studs I dashed with a little bit of gold. So that would be that him down. And this little thing here took me like 20 minutes to do. It was a pain. But he turned out good, and I was happy with it. Now for everyone's least favorite minis that I have painted so far. This is what is the leader of the Pathfinder squad. I think it's like a Shashui or something like that. I don't know a whole lot about Tau. I am a Commander Farsight kind of Tau player, so it's not all great or good out there, guys. Some people fight for the people. But I did want to use the base color for GW's base color. It's Armageddon or Dust. Yeah, it's Armageddon Dust. And I will get some little grass patches for these guys too. Obviously, I went with Farsight color schemes for these guys. The white is to indicate that he's a sergeant. It's just a little bit indicators. A lot of the red's just like corn red. I really wasn't sure how I was going to paint these guys necessarily, but I got them painted up and put together, and I was pretty happy with the way they turned out. So we come to the second to last mini that I have painted. The Eradicators. Now, this is the very first, what are they? Gravis suit unit that I've painted. And, man, they're chunky boys. Not quite as chunky as our last participant over here, but they're pretty chunky. Look at that power pack. It's massive. So, I spent a good chunk of time on painting these guys up. They are some of the last Marines from the Indominus Crusade box. And I spent plenty of time working on him. I just realized I've forgotten the Marine, so I will be right back. Okay, I've returned. So I'm sorry about that. There are 2 more minis left. This is the Outrider Sergeant. Oh, let me try to get in there without knocking over any minis here. This is my Outrider Sergeant. Now I did, again, focus camera. There we go. I did a lot of extra detail work with that. He's obviously driving over mud, so he's going to have muddy tires. And I did kind of try to flick some mud up under the vehicle and up on top, but it didn't turn out super great. No real issues with this model, putting it together, other than this right here. There is putty in there, because that is a horrible mold line. There was like a gap, a big gap, and I just caked a bunch of putty in there, painted over it, and stuck a transfer sheet on it because, bro, that was ridiculous. But I got it put together, and once I got it finally painted and that all fixed up, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I do not look forward to putting more of these together, and I've still got 2 more to do. So now we shall officially move on to the last mini, and another one of my favorite minis. This is the most recent mini I've painted, and it is this is a Devastator Centurion Sergeant. He is equipped with the Grav Cannon, because I wanted 1 with Grav Cannon, because I'm running a squad of 6. 1 with Grav Cannon, 2 with Heavy Bolters, and the rest running double las cannons. I spent, I just painted him today. I spent 3 hours, 3.5 hours painting him, just because I didn't know how great he was going to turn out, what all I wanted to do in certain areas. He's got a lot of little, like servo assistance and that for his legs and stuff, kind of like the Terminators. So, I mean, he was a lot of work in that sense, a lot of little dangly bits and stuff. I haven't put any transfer sheets on him. He's got the little, like, arms crossed with the skull. He's kind of got, like, a couple of those in that. So, I was super happy to finally get this guy done. I made a very great meme about him and him being the son of the Dreadnought, and you can see it. It is a short up on my channel. That's the first time I guess I've ever self-plugged myself, but the helmet was really fun to do. He's the old Hogman masks. He's probably one of the very few of like the original. Um, what are they called? They're called first generation Space Marines that I'll probably have in. But I just love this mini. He looks so good. Also, bro's chunky. Like he is a first generation Space Marine, and he's bigger than a Terminator. Bro's chonky. And it actually, behind this, it actually does show where his feet go to make his legs work properly. I've always kind of wondered that about Terminators, but I obviously haven't really looked into it much. But there was a lot of detailing work done with this. I wanted to do hazard stripes on this side, so I kind of left it blank for now. Where this is red, I wanted to do hazard stripes over here, but I just left it blank just because I wasn't super confident on me doing that yet. So, again, I really like this mini. He turned out great. He's got a lot of detail in him, and that's my latest mini. So these are all of the minis. Oh, let me focus my camera again. I'm sorry. These are all of the minis I painted, and kind of me talking about the pains with some of them. Let me think if I had any pains. The way I almost broke this one. So his head, it just came off. See? No, his head apparently was not glued on. Was it this one? No, it wasn't this one. Let me fix this head real quick. Glue that back on and let him point. Let's get him back in a spot where you all can see him. This was the dude. Okay, so his head is part of a little body that comes around the back and stuff. I almost broke this mini 3 times trying to get him pressed together. It was such a pain. Probably the worst mini that I've put together. Just on the fact that he's so spindly, he feels like he can break. And I've actually broken, like I said, I broke the iron halo off of this guy. So those are kind of my my thoughts, my takes on painting and or putting together any of these minis. So if you got a question about any of these models, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.